Hello, Megan. Sorry. Sorry, our speaker is on her way and she'll be here about 2 or 3 minutes. Sorry.
That's okay. We can wait for a little bit.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Hello. We are still waiting for participant and the speaker, so please wait for a moment. Hello, Richard.
G 是这个吗？
Okay. Hello. Okay, I think all of our speakers are present, and I think we can begin the webinar now, if that's all right. Okay. Well, first of all, a very warm welcome to everybody who's participating in this webinar. This webinar is actually being hosted by Taoyuan City. It was hosted and arranged by Taoyuan City, who is one of the cities participating in the ICP AGIR program, which many of you are as well. My name is Megan Chow. I am the Regional Coordinator for Asia in the ICP AGIR program, and I'll be today's moderator. Won't take up too much time. For a quick brief look, this is our agenda for today. We have 3 speakers from Taoyuan, Braga, and Grenoble-Alpes Metropole. And then we'll follow up the 3 presentations with a moderated discussion. And then after that, we'll take a photo all together and close off the webinar. But before we get started with anything else, I'd like to invite Mr. Evan Chang from Taoyuan City Government to deliver some opening remarks.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Okay,
can.
all right. Okay, good morning and also good afternoon. I would like to say hello to Mr. Correa from the Braga project and Mr. Uz from our sister city Grenoble, France. And our regional coordinator Megan and Summer and every friend show up in these meetings. And I'm Evan. I'm the Senior Executive Officer of the Taoyuan City Government, and I'm in charge of foreign affairs of the city and for the city and also for the mayor. And first of all, on behalf of Taoyuan City, I would like to extend the greatest appreciation from our mayor, Zheng Wenchan. And I really appreciate you guys for contributing yourself in CityNet and the program of ICP AGIR. We really appreciate that. And first of all, I want to say that Taoyuan is a highly industrialized city with the highest industrial output volume in Taiwan. This is therefore an important issue for our city to tackle with the air pollution and try to lower the energy consumptions and reach sustainability. And we have been making a lot of efforts toward this goal. And I'm really confident. I'm really confident that in some field, we really do a really good job. For example, our green energy is really good, and we have made a significant achievement. And we are willing to share our experience in this area. But at the same time, we also eager to learn your experience in other fields. So I think that's why we are here right now. And we'd like to change our experience to make our city better. And today we will discuss how to improve waste management. I have to apologize first that I have to leave for another meeting later on, so I can be with you throughout this meeting. And my colleague, Miss Lee, and she is the section chief of the general waste management in Taoyuan City government. And she is very experienced in dealing with numerous practical waste problems. So I'm sure that we will have a fruitful discussion through this meeting. So I wish that we can have more exchange in the future, and I am looking forward to this meeting. Thank you.
Very much for your warm welcoming remarks, Mr. Chang. At this time, I'd like to invite the three speakers to give their presentation, and then we'll have some time for Q&A. And I think we can, I believe we can start with Ms. Rachel Lee from Taoyuan City Government. So,
okay,
Ms.
thank
Lee,
you.
The floor is yours.
Hello to everyone. I am the section chief from the Department of Environmental Protection of Taoyuan City Government. So today I will talk about the waste treatment in Taoyuan. So first of all, let me tell you something about the waste treatment in Taiwan. Actually, in 1984, the waste was basically processed in the form of landfill. In 1991, we started to incinerate all the garbage. So since 1991, Taiwan has started to construct major incinerators. Actually, we have had 24 incinerators to help process all the garbage. And then in 1998, we started to implement a policy called Recycle 4-in-1. So we will have a cleaning fleet and cleaning companies, as well as the neighborhoods, so that we can recycle all the wastes. And then in 2002, we implemented the Resource Recycling Act. In 2005, we started to implement the waste sorting in Taiwan. So in Taiwan, you can actually see 4 categories of waste. There's non-recyclable and recyclable, kitchen waste, and bulk waste. Actually, in Taoyuan, our circular economy is very different from the linear economy in the past. We have transformed it into a circular economy. So we will break waste into raw materials or materials, and then we will return these materials to the production supply chain. We hope that this will help contribute to the circular economy in Taoyuan. Actually, in terms of waste process and management, we are following the sustainable goals. So now I would like to explain to you the waste treatment in Taoyuan. In terms of our waste, okay, so we will proceed to the next page. Okay, so the waste treatment distribution of Taoyuan City, we have to look at 4 aspects: waste, and then recycling waste, and then kitchen waste. And kitchen waste can be leftovers and those food ingredients that have not been used but were disposed of. And then we have bulky waste. So basically, we have the incineration plant for the waste. And in Taoyuan, we have the Biomass Energy Center. They will process in heat treatment for the wastes. So I will also talk about Biomass Energy Center in Taoyuan later. And also we have this SRF plant, which means Solid Recovered Fuel plant. All of the ashes and slags generated from the incineration plant are reused. And through the heat, and we will be able to generate power. And after the recycling or the sorting, you can see that in Taiwan, especially in Taoyuan, the citizens or the residents find it very convenient to recycle their wastes, because we do not ask them to sort their garbages or wastes on different days. We just simply ask them to get them out every day, and then they will sort them out. And actually, we have some labor, or we have some workers to help us sort out the kitchen waste or the wastes that we have collected. They will be the ones that will help us sort out and classify all the wastes according to their nature, so that we can turn these wastes into something that we can reuse. And for the kitchen waste, actually, they have been, in the past, they were used as the feed for pigs and other farm animals. And now we are utilizing this system called the anaerobic digestion. And then we have this bulky waste. So if we have some furniture or some tree or branches on the road, we will have this category of bulky waste. So basically, once we collected them, we will separate them into those that can be reused, such as ferrous metals and the wood fuels. So they will be reused. Next page, please. And now in terms of bulky waste, if you have a mattress, the mattress will be used in the crusher, and then they will become the RDF, which means refuse derived fuel, and then they will be used for power generation. And now I want to talk about the slags generating from the incineration plants. So basically, we recycle the slags after treatment and processes. The slags will be then be used in public construction projects and school constructions. Next page, please. And like I said earlier, in Taiwan, we have a lot of landfills. So we would like to activate those lands. For example, we will turn them into parks, or maybe we can install some solar panels on them. So basically in Taoyuan, we have a lot of onshore wind farms. So the installation capacity is around 4.5 million megawatts. Thank you. Next page. And there are some recycled materials, such as the recycled plastic bottles. For example, usually people would reuse the plastic bottles as the plastic pieces, but we also would like to recycle and reuse the marine debris. So we actually collected all the PET bottles and plastic bottles we found on the beaches, and then we successfully transformed them into functional fabrics. So basically, with the functional fabrics, all it takes is 5 PET bottles. You can turn them into one jogging clothing piece. And now I would like to move on to the Biomass Energy Center. So basically, our Biomass Energy Center is the largest of its kind in Taiwan. So the design capacity is 30.58 megawatts. And in the future, they will be able to generate 220 million kilowatt per hours per year, which can power 63,000 households every year. So basically, with the Biomass Energy Center, we will be able to reduce 112,000 tons of carbon dioxide annually, and it is equivalent to the afforestation of 11,790 hectares of land. And it is also the first case to obtain the BS 8001 Circular Economy certification. So basically, in this energy center, you can find the heat treatment, thermal treatment, and we also have the capacity to process the anaerobic digestion. So basically, in the energy center, we will sort them, and then those that can be burned can be put into the furnace. So you can see that the generation capacity is actually higher than the national average. And also, the anaerobic digestion can now process the manure and the kitchen waste. The production can go up to 135 tons per day. They can then be converted into manure. They can then be converted into biomass energy. And it is actually the largest PPP case in 2018, which is all funded by the government.
And now I'm going to introduce the features of the Biomass Energy Center, as mentioned before. In terms of heat treatment, we will do the pre-treatment, and this is the first ever water-cooled grate. On top of that, we want to incorporate that with the local culture so that we can use the green building, so that we can provide environmental education and provide public welfare. So in terms of the Biomass Energy Center process, I think that's quite similar to other kinds of centers. So moving on to the next page, you can see we have the waste pre-treatment. So the feature of the pre-treatment is that we want to even out the waste so that they can generate more electricity. So next, in terms of the pre-treatment, we will start with the crusher, and then the waste will be crushed down. They will be broken down into smaller pieces, and then we can use the magnetic separator, and then it will go down to the eddy current separator, and the non-ferrous metals will be recycled, and those that cannot be recycled will be incinerated. So this is our main facility, and with this facility in place so that we can achieve 28% of power generation efficiency. Next. As for the anaerobic digestion, please allow me to give you some briefing. In terms of this process, we have evaluated the manure and kitchen waste of Taoyuan. We hope that we can have proper treatment of these kind of waste. So I think we're the only one in Taiwan that has adopted anaerobic digestion for pre-treatment. For example, we know that there are some broken bags inside the waste, so we would like to select some of the waste. We want to use the hammer mill, and then it will be gritted down. So after desulfurization, we can use CHP so that we can generate green power. So the power will be sold to the Thai Power Company in Taiwan. Next page. So in terms of the Biomass Energy Center, I think compared to the incinerators, now we have the pre-treatment system. So by even out the small pieces after treatment, so parts that can generate heat will be selected out. So all of the fly ash and slag will be reused again. So the leftovers like the kitchen waste and the other waste can go through anaerobic digestion. So that's the process. So after the program was launched, we hope that we can promote more environmental assets so that we can create circular economy to convert waste to energy and create green economy. So as I've said before, we have the first Biomass Energy Center in Taiwan, and we are hoping that through building this kind of chain, we can use the materials and generate power from the waste. So we also have the SRF plant, so we can turn the waste into fuel. In addition, in terms of circular economy, so for the furnitures that can be reused, we try to educate the public so that they can be reused again. So here in Taoyuan, we are hoping that we can create self-circulation and achieve the goal of zero waste. We have the concept. We want to change it from cradle to grave to cradle to cradle. So we understand that resources in the wrong place are waste, but the waste in the right place is resource. So this is the main goal of Taoyuan. We want to create the cradle to cradle and self-circulation and zero waste policy here in Taoyuan. Thank you very much. So that's my presentation.
Thank you very much, Ms. Lee, for that excellent presentation. Actually, I thought it was really cool that the Biomass Energy Center not only has a very high power generation efficiency, but also that it was the biggest PPP case in 2018. I also really liked your comment about resources in the wrong place being waste and the waste in the right place being resources. I think that's a really good approach to take. And yeah, thank you very much for your excellent presentation. We'll hold off our questions until after the other two presenters. Okay, I realized I forgot to share my screen earlier, but I'd like to invite Mr. Pedro Correa to the stage to give his presentation on behalf of Braga, Portugal.
Good morning and good afternoon. So I'm waiting for the presentation on your side. I'm from Ager. We don't do the whole process. It's only the non-recyclable waste we handle. We have another operator in terms of okay. I will present it the system overall on the waste management and the challenges associated. Next slide, please. Next page, please. As I was saying, there are two key players on the operating in Braga, Ager, which are us. We manage the non-recyclable waste recollection, rejected furniture, and rejected also household appliances. Furniture and household appliances are collected by appointment to the households, and we have Braval, which is a multi-municipal entity formed by 6 municipalities who handles recyclable waste and is the one who operates also the treatment of the waste we recollect. We deliver to them. Parallel to that, they have by appointment a cooking oil recollection to incorporate on biodiesel. Next page, please. Until 2018, we had curbside based recollection every day from Monday to Saturday. More rural peripheral areas, we have only 3 times a week. The urban areas were collected by night because of less traffic. And from Braval, they have public containers for the normal recyclable circuits. The recollection is based on the historic of each container, and it's made mainly by day, especially the glass because of the noise. In terms of reach, our urban waste is over 80% of the total of which produced on the municipality, with less than or about 15% only of direct incoming delivered to recycling. Next page, please. Next page. Oh, it's a duplicate. Next page. By this time, the system was unbearable. We had sidewalks completely occupied by trash bags by night. We had several occupational health and safety hazards because of excessive weight of the bags, cuts on the workers because of the broken glasses and the other stuff in the bags. The hygiene of the sidewalks and the roads were increasing also, and we had also people with difficulties with the time frame we have to put bags on the street, we were not compatible with their work schedule, so we had to overhaul all the system. Next page, please. As there wasn't any regulation.
We withdraw. We lose any that from where we withdraw.
Okay.
That.
As there was no regulation, stateside or municipality side about house containers, space for containers. A system with household containers was unpractical. We have very much areas on town where the houses don't have a front yard, don't have direct access to a backyard, no place to put an household container. So the ideal solution should be the 4 containers for the or five for the different kinds of waste for each household was not an option. Another thing is the more urban area is a lot more densely populated, and the rural area is far less populated. We have about 60% of population in 11% of the territory, and the other 40 and 89% of the territory. With all this information, we had to overhaul the system. Next page, please. Next page, please. So with this different, it's the asymmetric territory. We come to a system, an hybrid system. The zone one, or the interior ring, as we call it, is the old town with partially walk-only streets, narrow sidewalks, narrow streets, not appropriated to put containers, lower resident population, more restaurants and bars, tourist-oriented zone. We kept a daily curbside recollection. The second zone, the middle ring, is where these 89,000 people live. With more density, we have a system based on the high-capacity containers, recollected by a single operated truck with only the driver. The truck can recollect both from on the right and on the left of the street. The outer ring, the zone 3, with lower density, we implement a system with more traditional plastic containers, public. Also because in this area we have still a lot of electrical and phone lines aerial, which will restrict the operation of the cranes of the trucks with the system we use on the middle ring. Next page, please. As we see, the first, the zone 1 is the darker with the recollection. The middle, the zone 2 with the single operated trucks and the high capacity containers, and the zone 3 with the more traditional container. Next, please. One of the areas is reduce the carbon footprint of the system. We achieved that by reducing the frequency of recollection. We were able to reduce from six times a week for 3 times in all the municipality, except the zone 1, but it's very small, not a big impact on the system. Also, with containers, we reduce the stopping points and predetermined them on the curbside recollection. Every household could be a stopping point for the trucks, and now we know where the truck needs to stop. We can handle the place. We avoid very early stops because of the impact on power consumption, the impact on clutch, brakes of the trucks, and also we are working with a third party on developing a tool to plan and monitoring the recollection system almost in real time. At this moment, we have about 1,300 big containers on the zone 3 and then zone 2. And zone 3, we have about 3,600 containers with a total capacity of almost 9,000 cubic meters, which is for Braga dimension about 100 liters per household. Next page, please. This tool we are implementing for a more lean management of the system is based on planning, routing, monitoring, and anomaly report. At this moment, it still only receives input from the organization. In future, it will be open to population. It affects waste management, but also the urban cleaning system we are responsible to. Next page, please. 3 examples. The first one on the left, it's a route of one recollection circuit, and on the right, it's an anomaly report. Our trucks are provided with a tablet, and operators of urban cleaning and middle management with a smartphone. This example, it was me with a smartphone. I watched some furniture abandoned near the container with no appointment. Who just took a picture and it registered the GPS coordinates of the point and was sent to the team to recollect without further without a due process lengthy and bureaucratic. Next page, please. Yes. In this page, we have execution monitoring of a route. We can see on the right side the the containers which were recollected, and there is another column of the one who weren't. The containers have an RFID tag, the truck and antenna, only which is on a crane. Only when the container is effectively up on the crane is on only the moment where it is registered. So no point on passing by the container, we will not activate antenna. Next page, please. This is something we still in testing, is the fill level of the containers. We are making sure we choose the right sensors before we implement and on the municipality wide. In this moment, we only have this in testing. After that, we will we'll put the system on the needed basis for the level of the containers. I'm sorry. In this moment, I couldn't include on the presentation the route optimizer tool, which was introduced only this week. I sent the presentation last week. We didn't have no images of that working tool, which is the step we are working precisely at this moment to optimize the routes, reduce the mileage of the trucks. Next page, please.
I'm sorry, I can't hear anymore. I am the only one?
I think so. Unfortunately, I can hear him. Would you, Miss Ud, can you hear me? Okay. Sorry. Mr. Koya, please continue, and then
Okay.
I'll message her separately.
The other process
I'm
is
the only one that can.
at this moment we are working on the biodegradable waste flux, which is not implemented still in Portugal. We have some projects, pilot projects, and here in Braga we started by the inner circle restaurants on the old town. We distribute containers for the biodegradable waste and containers for the rest of the waste. In the future, you will implement the system municipality-wide with focus on canteens, catering industry, and restaurants. For the public in general, in order to not duplicate our recollection system with two parallel systems for bio-waste and the rest of the waste, we will distribute the specific bags for the population to put in the same container. At this moment, we started in 2019 with this system with restaurants, but because of COVID, we had much time with these restaurants closed and a lot of rotation on the workers. With the system, we could not have the very good numbers to show. Only 2 tons for restaurant a year, which is a lot less what we were expecting. Next page, please. As I was saying, in terms of households, we will distribute specific bags, and people will use the same containers from the rest of the waste to avoid duplication of the collection circuits and doubling the footprint of the system, the carbon footprint of the system. Next page, please. After that, we must until 2026 to implement a pay-as-you-throw system based on the amount produced. At this moment, our equipments are fully prepared to receive off-the-shelf systems or applied to them. Next page, please. In terms of circular economy, as we are not the only operator, or any strategy should involve us and Braval, because they are the responsible for the valorizable part of the waste. And at this moment, as most of the municipalities in Portugal, we can't act alone because we need this multi-municipal entities to work with us to make the pay-as-you-throw system more fair to people who recycle more instead of just throwing the garbage, all the waste on the same container. Next page, please. In this moment, Portugal has targets to the percentage of the potential recyclable materials which are effectively sent to valorization. At this moment, most of all of them are except aluminium for economic reasons. All the other types of valorizable waste are under the target, including steel, which is odd. The table under is only respect of the waste in the Braga, which is directly separated by people, not what or after that on triage is recovered from 2017 on the old system to this all the waste types have increased except cooking oil. But urban waste have a bigger increase. We think it's because of the population increase come mainly from some countries where recycling simply doesn't exist. Municipal systems to recycling simply don't exist, or for people from for older colonies in Africa, Brazil, the most of the population increase in Braga, which was about 7% of the population in this period. So this more pronounced up on the urban waste instead of about 10% on the other kinds of waste is justified mainly by that. And that's all for me.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Correa, for that excellent presentation. It's very informative and shared a lot about Braga and the current system that you're currently implementing at the time. Sorry, right now. So that's very informative. I thought it was really interesting to see how Braga has
Can you hear me? Yes,
Oh,
or
hello. Yes, we can hear you, but just let me make, yes, but let me just comment briefly on Mr. Correa's presentation, and then I'll invite you to speak. Is that okay?
okay, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting to see how Braga is overhauling the system in such a huge way because of the smart sensors in your garbage cans and everything like that. That is a very interesting system. And I particularly thought that the attention to detail about the parallel routes and avoiding that by equipping your trucks with the dual capability, that was also really interesting. It shifts the shifting of the responsibility towards citizens as well as the pay by throw, I think is also a very interesting and innovative step to take. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, let me please introduce our last speaker, Ms. Elodie. She is from France, from Grenoble-Alpes Metropole, and she'll be presenting as well on waste management in the city. Okay, Ms. Id, the floor is all yours.
Yes, hi. Hi, everybody. I'm sorry I have some technical trouble, but we try to to go like that. So I'm in charge of the communication for the waste department of Grenoble-Alpes Metropole. And I'm going to speak about the food waste at source sorting. That's a new disposal now. So next, please. So just a few words about Grenoble-Alpes Metropole, because Taiwan is very famous, but Grenoble not that far. We are a group of 49 municipalities and 451,000 inhabitants. So that's the 10th metropole of France. And as you can see in the picture, we are just surrounded by mountains. So next, please. No, next. Yes. A few words about our resources and facilities of the waste department. We are 365 person. Oh, that's a little too fast for me. And according to technical resources, we have 4 technical centers dispatched on the territory, 90 waste collection trucks, and we have three kind of bins. In Grenoble, we have the green one for packagings, and the new brown bin for food waste, and the gray bin for residual waste. So that's the sorting we have to do in Grenoble. And the facilities, we have 21 recycling centers that you can see one of the picture. We have a sorting center that has been built in 1989. So that's a very old sorting center. It's just now rebuilt. We have a waste incinerator and also a composting center. We have a composting center because we could extract the organic matter from the residual waste mechanically. So that's why we have this kind of facilities. Next, please. The financial resources for the waste department is around 58 millions of euro. That's around 61 million of US dollar. And all the waste budget, operating budget, comes from the waste tax. Everybody here have to pay a tax for the waste. This tax is depend on the size of your apartment. The bigger you have is your apartment, the more you pay for the waste tax. That's the housing value. Next, please. Yeah, we have a very, very ambitious program to reduce and recycle the waste. So in 2016, we vote a program to be with very, very ambitious objectives. The first objective is to reduce from the half the residual waste. You know, the grey bin has to be reduced from and the recycled waste has to be sorry, all the waste product here has to be recycled of two-thirds. So to obtain this, to reach this objective, we have few actions, a lot of action. That's I can't read or on the slide, but I have my notes. So we are going to modernize the sorting center and the incinerator. They just are rebuilt now. We have a food waste at source sorting ambitious. That's very new in France. And we are thinking about the incentive tariffication experimentation. That means that there is an experimentation to pay to people to pay the tax, not given.
Miss Ud? Oh. Hello? Okay, I think we may have encountered a little bit of a technical difficulty on Miss Ud's part. I guess while we wait for her to reconnect, perhaps I can invite any questions that might that there might be for the first two presenters, but only very. Oh, she's coming back in. Hang on a second. Miss Ud?
Yes, I'm sorry. I've been ejected.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay.
I come back.
Would you like to continue?
Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to speak about the action plan to reduce the waste in the territory. So next. Let's speak about the food waste at source sorting, because I don't know how many times I can stay with you. Concerning the food waste at source sorting, so that's among the first collectivities in France to develop such a program, because that's an European obligation now, but everybody has to settle this kind of disposal, but it's just brand new in Europe. So we have two solutions. We propose two solutions for the food waste at source sorting. For our inhabitants who live in houses, individual houses or with garden, we can provide a composter, as you can see, a wooden composter on the picture, and brown bio buckets. So everybody who has a garden can have freely this kind of bio bucket for the kitchen, and in the garden the composter, and make a home compost. That's really the best way to reduce food waste. So that's free for people, and we distribute every year 4,000 free composters in the territory. And for inhabitants who live in apartments, in buildings, we can provide another solution. We propose to everybody to have a bio bucket in the kitchen, brown bio bucket, and recyclable bags, free. And then in the ground floor, we put a very big brown bin to put this food waste, and we organize the collection of this brown bin to bring every food waste to the composter centers. So just next, please. It's okay, you can hear me, yeah?
We can hear you, no problem.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's a slide to show you the deployment of this kind of disposal. So first of all, we made in 2018 an experimentation to try to test on 3,000 inhabitants and 50 restaurants that has been equipped and collected in food waste. So we observe the results, and we have around 20 kilo per inhabitants of food waste. And after that, after having tested this kind of collection, it has been deployed on the rest of territory. So every year we deploy these services to 50,000 people. So that's on the right, you have the map to give you the deployments we wanted to do, but actually because of the COVID crisis last year, we had a small delay, and probably we hoped to finish the deployment at the end of the year, but probably in 2023 we will really finished to provide every citizens this kind of solution to make the food waste at source sorting. Next, please. Yeah, on this picture you can see our composting center. So that's the old one, and it had been adapted to accept this new kind of materials. The quality of the compost products there is very much better now because of the at source sorting. And we have a project of biogas plants also to make methanization in this computer center to produce biogas and also energy. So that's probably in 2 years it will be built. Next, please. Just a little conclusion of the food waste at source sorting in France, in Grenoble, actually. It's for us a very interesting vector to sensibilize people to the importance of waste prevention. The waste prevention is really important for us because, as I told you, we are rebuilding the new sorting center and a new incinerator also that has been dimensioned with very smaller, with less residual waste and more recycling packaging. So the size of the new installation make that we don't have the choice. We have to reach our objectives of reduction. The barriers we can meet concerning the food waste sorting is, of course, the cleanup companies and the property managers who are not really happy about our initiatives because we have very specific work to do with them. They don't really appreciate to clean this new organic bin. So that's a good work for us to explain the meaning of this service. There is also nuisance created by heat, and inhabitants don't really appreciate just now when it's very hot outside. There is some warm and smell. So perhaps sometimes can stop the food waste sorting to prevent this nuisance. We can accept that, but we try in September to encourage them to sort again the food waste. And sometimes we have difficulties with in neighborhood with voluntary waste drop-off, of course. Next, please. As I tell you just at the beginning, we have a really ambitious program to reduction the waste. So we launch a new program for reducing of 17,000 tons of waste within 6 years. The first actions to start, now we have banned the advertising in the letterbox. It really began in September 2002, September of this year. Every ads will be banned in the letterbox. So that's a big revolution in France because there is a lot of waste due to the ads. So people who really want to have ads in their letterbox can have stickers stick on the letterbox to prevent that. Yes, you can give me some ads, so that's possible. But we have also a reflection to ban moving in recycling centers. You could see in the picture we have in area very green with a lot of mountains and trees and garden. So the moving are very huge waste, and it has to be banned probably in few years in the recycling centers. The solution is to let it on the grass. That's much better for the garden and for the waste department. And also we try to help to collective catering to improve their methods to avoid disposal cutlery and waste because there is too much disposable cutlery. And of course, after all, repair and reuse action plan with a lot of actions to reparation instead of throwing in the garbage. So that's just few examples that of solution we can propose for the next year. And the next, please, but I think it's the end. I got it. Thank you for your attention. Thank you. I ran.
Thank you very much, Monsieur, for that excellent presentation.
Thank you.
And actually, at this time, since we are running a little bit over time, but I really do think that some time for Q&A is really important. So I'd like to open up the floor for any questions for any questions that the audience might have right now. And I also have a question right now in the chat from Samu from Johannesburg, South Africa. Unfortunately, they had to leave because they have another meeting, but they'll listen to the recording for the answer. They'd like to ask the three speakers if any of you struggle with informal recyclers, and if so, how do you manage it? How are these informal recyclers included in the management system and also in circular economy? Perhaps I can invite Miss Lee to share about Taoyuan and whether or not you have informal recyclers and how you manage them.
Thank you. Please allow me to share with you Taiwan's experience. In terms of recycling and waste collection, they're provided by the government. So in Taoyuan, we have a highly dense population. Our total area is 122 square kilometer, but our population is 2.7 million, 2.27 million. So we have a very dense population. If you have come to Taiwan, actually, at nighttime, you will hear the music from the garbage collection truck. We don't want the trash to touch the ground. If you come to Taiwan, you will definitely hear the music from the garbage truck. So to at least, that's the music people are very familiar with. So at that time, when you hear the music, you can bring your waste out and throw it away. And when it comes to waste collection, actually starting from 2000, before the year 2000, we did similar things like Braga. So we have the waste bin, and we will go there to collect the waste at night. But actually, it caused a lot of troubles. The environment would be very bad because people don't want the bins to be in front of your home. So starting from the year 2000, we have the waste truck following a certain route to collect the waste. And we heard from the experience from friends in terms of Taoyuan. When it comes to waste collection, we have about 2,700 people in the cleaning fleet to collect the waste. Actually, it takes a lot of resources. And for the private sector, their main job is on recycling. I think also starting from the year 2000, we started to launch the policy of recycling. When I was young, I still remember back at that time when the government launched a policy, 2 PET bottles could be traded for 1 NT dollar. So the government provided economic incentive to encourage people to recycle. So by providing the economic incentive, and now the government has asked the PET manufacturers, when they manufacture, they have to pay the money upfront to the government. So the government will collect a fund from the manufacturers, and then the recycled products actually are valuable. So the recycled products can be exchanged for a certain amount of money. For example, it will be evaluated per kilo. For example, 1 kilo of paper can be traded for how much money? And then we can have the recyclers by working with the funds from the recycler or from the subsidies from the government, then we can create the circular economy. 20 years ago, actually, we started to educate people about the concept of recycling so that we can minimize the amount of waste, because we know that the waste is valuable. And because of that, we do see more and more private recyclers. So they can find the resource they want because the waste can be valuable to the recyclers. So in Taiwan, we do have the regulations governing the private vendors. If your company reaches a certain level, for example, if the company owns the land over 1,000 square meter, then you need to get a permit from the government. Then you're able to provide recycling services. But if you also crush down the products or turn the waste into products, then definitely you will need to register and get a permit from the government. So all of the private recyclers if they want to apply, they have to follow the government's regulation, and they are regulated by the law. So that's the situation in Taiwan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing about Taiwan's situation regarding informal recyclers. Might I invite some feedback from maybe from Braga and from Grenoble as well?
Well, informal, like Taiwan, we have a regulation for privately entities to exercise the activity on recycling. But I think the question was more of the we have also informal recyclers, and we have when we have a curbside recollection system, we have a problem with that because mainly in more populated areas and with restaurants and supermarkets, we have these informal recyclers sometimes rummage to the garbage, look for cans, aluminum cans and cardboard, and it will cause us problems because of spreading the garbage which was on the bags and so on. With the containers, the problem was something sorted out on the more residential areas. That kind of container with a smaller opening is not very friendly of these informal recyclers. The other recyclers, the regulated ones, sometimes we have some problems too because they this activity sometimes is parallel to just collect waste from industries, and they recollect the waste and sort it out. But on this waste, sometimes there are some waste which they can't treat, like paint cans, and sometimes just to have the cost to deliver that to another company to treat, they just put on the containers or near the containers, which is a problem for us because it will contaminate the residential waste. But one of the biggest we have had a serious problem with informal recyclers before we had the containers.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing about how like the change from bags to containers has made a difference in the I guess in informal recycling and scavengers. Thank you very much. Ms. Ed, do you also have any insights from Grenoble? Oh, she typed it into the chat. So she said, oh, I think this is about a different question, perhaps. Ms. Ed, do you have any comments about informal recycling in your city or your community?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Sure. The question was about informal recycling. So do you have informal recycling that occurs in informal recyclers that occur in your community? And if so, how do you manage it? How are they included in the management system and in circular economy?
I'm not sure to have understand very well the question, but I try to answer what I understand. We have a new department in the waste department concerning economy circular, and that's what I told you about the repair and reuse action. We have built a specific building of 3,000 meters, a very huge space where everybody could bring some some old sofa, old eating or what you want, and it can be repaired there, and people can be have it free after that. So that's a new building. We call that Pole Air. And there is a lot of association that could repair and that could upcycling.
Okay. I guess in this
sure
case,
it answers the question.
I think in this case, the question is talking about like scavengers who, like people who go through the waste and recycling, outside of the formal system. But perhaps since you did also share about the food waste, maybe this question doesn't apply to you as quite as much. But thank you for your insight anyways.
I'm sorry, perhaps can you write your question? I could answer
Yeah,
by
I can
waiting.
write it into the chat afterwards.
Thank you.
But
Sorry.
it's okay. Yeah, and I think maybe we'll just take one more question. Sandra has asked the question into the chat. Two parts, I guess. One is, how do you get citizens on board to meet these very ambitious targets? Like, do you use awareness, taxing, maybe incentives, or is it a mix of all of them? And also specifically wanted to ask Mr. Koya, if the containers are the same, how will the payment system be implemented for the pay-as-you-throw? I think in this case, we'll invite Mr. Koya to speak first, and then I'll turn to Taoyuan, as Elodie has already answered inside the chat.
Yeah, okay. The first part of the question, the more general part of the question, I believe it's a bit of everything. Portugal started already by taxing the plastic bags on the supermarkets because they were rendered free and people use it a lot, including they put the garbage on the outside on the bag they bring from the supermarket. Also, they to have a success, I believe we have to tax the non-recycled waste production or not sorted out waste production, and financially incentivize people when you recycle, which means you pay for each bag of garbage you put on our container, and we will give you some credit on the bag you put on by the waste you put on the paper container, on the plastic and package container, on the glass container. So if you don't recycle any garbage, you have much more bags on by the end of the month you have to pay, and no credit at all on the recycling part. And in spite of our containers, the system should be based on each household will have identifier card, an NFC card, which you open the container by approaching the card. You put your bag and it will be accounted. Ideally, the same way you will process on the recycling part, but with the account being a credit on their favor. Imagine 50 cents each bag of unsorted waste, and each bag you put on the recycling container will credit you 20 cents, 10 cents, something like that. Our idea of the system would work for the people and for the system would be like that.
Thank you. I think that's a very interesting. So basically, the bags of recycling that you throw give you credit towards the cost of waste that you throw away.
Yes, it's our
That's a good
idea.
offset.
Like I said, we are working to different entities here, AGER, which I represent, and Braval, in the upper scale level. And this has to be coordinated by the two companies. Will be not a problem because one of the shareholders of Braval is AGER, because the municipalities are the shareholders of the company, and we are the biggest municipality of the Braval area, so we are the biggest shareholder because it won't be so hard.
Okay, well, thank you. Sandra, I hope that answered your question towards Braga specifically. Excellent. And then I guess since we are running quite short on time, thank you for that, Mr. Correa. I will ask Ms. Lee about how perhaps Taoyuan engages citizens for their ambitious goals.
好，那其实以台湾来讲，
Actually, in Taiwan, I think the most important thing is that we need to have an environmental education. So we actually educate the young children that they need to recycle. So education is very important as we push for the recycling. So at school, we will have this competition where the classes will be competed together, and they will see who has the largest amount of batteries that needed to be recycled. Actually, students are very obeying. So they will collect all those that can be recycled and then bring them to school to enter into this competition. And like I said, we also have the mechanism that I just mentioned. We have been implemented this for a long time. All of the recycled materials have values. So you won't see that they will be disposed of on the streets anywhere because they have the value. People will pick them up. And in local communities or neighborhoods, they will collect all of these PET bottles or other recycled materials, and then the recyclers or the recycling centers will come and collect them. And after that, the recycling centers will sell all the collected recycled materials to other companies. So you can see that in Taoyuan, we have 60% of achievement rate, or maybe I should say compliance rate. That is 100% of the wastes. Maybe 60% of them are recycled. And the reason why we can achieve this high rate of recycling is because we have the values attached to these recycled materials. In Taoyuan, we also use cash as an incentive for our citizens. For example, if I recycled a smartphone, I will get 10%, maybe I will get $10 or $50. All of these are cash incentives given to our citizens so that people will be able to get on board with the city government. Actually, I'm very curious about the payment system. Actually, in Taiwan, we only have two models. The first is we will charge citizens based on how much water they use. So the more water they use, they will be levied more taxes. And the other thing is that we will charge them for every plastic bag they buy. So maybe one bag, they will have to pay for $1. So in order to reduce the cost on buying plastic bags, they will try to reduce the use of plastic bags. So it's similar to Braga. So Braga mentioned that they will charge citizens according to the size of their houses and apartments. That's Grenoble. So if we are charging our citizens based on the bags they buy, actually citizens are willing to reduce their wastes. So at first, this was very successful. However, as time goes by, you can see that people are thinking, well, the plastic bags are not so expensive, right? And a lot of the citizens are not charged enough. For example, for a plastic bag that can hold 33 liters of garbage, you should actually charge for 20 cents or $20, but they only charge them for like $1 or $5. So actually, the citizens are not paying the full price, so they don't care in the end. And with that, we will not be able to achieve the goal of garbage reduction or waste reduction. We're trying to figure out ways to achieve our ultimate goal. So basically, what we are doing is we have this legal approach or policy approach. For example, we have a lot of bubble tea milk shop. If you come to Taiwan, you can see them everywhere. So let's say if you buy one drink in these shops, you will have to buy for a bag to hold the drink. So a lot of the department stores and shops are also following the government's rules. They will ask the consumers to pay for the bag that they are buying. So some stores will have to abide by the government's regulations that the disposable cutleries or the utensils will not be used in their stores. So actually, the consumers will have to face the fact that they will not be able to get the disposable cutlery in these stores. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I hope that was I hope that answered your question a little bit, Sandra. Since it is now 7:30 and we are very over time because everything was super interesting to listen to, I do unfortunately think we should bring this webinar to a close. Thank you very, very much to thank you very, very much to our speakers, Ms. Lee, Mr. Correa, and Ms. Ud. Sandra, please do note that Ms. Ud did reply to your question in the chat, and as well as to Samus, Andreas, if you'd pass it along to her. And I think at this time, thank you so much to Taoyuan City for organizing this very interesting and enlightening webinar. I think they would like us to take a group photo before we close. So if everybody could turn on their cameras and give a big smile for the camera, I think they will, they'll coordinate a quick photo. All right, okay, so everybody wouldn't mind turning on their cameras. We'll take a couple of screenshots as well from our side. Okay, on the count of 3, maybe 1, 2, 3, and one more. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Thank you for giving up so much of your time. It was a great pleasure to have everybody here, and all the questions and presentations were very interesting to listen to. With that, have a great evening, have a great day, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, bye-bye.
问在中间讲的那个是台湾人吗？